This sign means A. Don't drink if you are going to drive. B. Slippery when wet. C. Road curves ahead. D. You are approaching a hill. B. Slippery when wet. This sign warns that the road is slippery when wet. While driving, your wheels slip off the edge of the road. You should A. Jerk the steering wheel to force the vehicle back onto the pavement. B. Speed up and steer back onto the pavement gradually. C. Slam on your brakes and stop. D. Slow down by gently using the brakes. Turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement at a safe speed. D. Slow down by gently using the brakes. Turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement at a safe speed. If your vehicle begins to leave the road, continue to drive with the wheels off the pavement and reduce your speed by gently applying the brakes. When at a safe speed, turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement. Do not attempt to force your vehicle back onto the pavement by sharply turning the steering wheel. This sign shows one type of A. Intersection. B. Road curve. C. Right turn. D. Lane change. A. Intersection. This sign indicates that an intersection with a crossing road is ahead. You are involved in an accident and another person is injured. You should A. Move the injured away from the scene immediately. B. Always leave the injured where they are. C. Not move the injured unnecessarily. Keep the injured warm and administer first aid. D. Stay away from the injured.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
This sign means A. Minimum speed limit is 40 miles per hour. B. No turn on red. C. Fines double in work zone. D. Added lane. A. Minimum speed limit is 40 miles per hour. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This sign indicates a minimum legal driving speed and drivers should not drive below the speed posted. When exiting a highway, you should slow down. A. On the main road, just before the exit lane. B. Once you see a toll booth. C. Once you have moved into the exit lane. D. When you first see the exit sign. C. Once you have moved into the exit lane. When exiting a highway, you should get into the exit lane well in advance. Do not begin to slow down until after you have moved into the exit lane. This sign means A. Pedestrians only. B. Intersection ahead. C. Hiking trails ahead. D. School crossing ahead. If another driver cuts you off in traffic, you should A. Pull next to the driver and yell at them. B. Let it go. C. Flash your high beams at the driver. D. Get back at the other driver by cutting them off. B. Let it go. To avoid the dangers of road rage, you should never take it personally if another driver cuts you off in traffic. Just let it go and continue driving safely. When you see or hear an emergency vehicle coming, you should A. Stop immediately and let the vehicle pass. B. Drive as far toward the right side of the road as is safe and stop. C. Proceed slowly and permit the vehicle to pass. D. Keep moving slowly, staying to the right side of the road. B. Drive as far toward the right side of the road as is safe and stop. When driving on a two-lane roadway or undivided highway, you must yield to an emergency vehicle using its lights and/or siren, regardless of the direction from which it is approaching. Immediately drive as near as possible to the right side of the road and stop, taking care not to stop within an intersection. This sign means A. Curve ahead. B. Roadwork ahead. C. Merging traffic. D. No left turn. A. Curve ahead. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign alerts drivers to an upcoming curve in the road. To change lanes you should A. Check your mirrors and signal, then change lanes. B. Signal, check your mirrors, check your blind spot in the direction you plan to move, then change lanes. C. Signal, check your mirrors, and change lanes. D. Signal and change lanes. B. Signal, check your mirrors, check your blind spot in the direction you plan to move, then change lanes. Before changing lanes, you should activate your turn signal in the appropriate direction and check your rear view and side mirrors. Look over your shoulder in the direction you plan to move in order to check your blind spot and check the far lane to be sure no one else is trying to enter the same lane as you. Change lanes when you are sure it is safe to do so. This sign means A. One-way traffic. B. Keep right. C. Low shoulder. D. Yield. A. One-way traffic. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This sign tells drivers the direction in which they must drive when turning onto a one-way street. Which of the following about winter driving is not true? A. Winter is the most difficult driving season. B. Checking your vehicle's antifreeze and windshield washer fluid levels is especially important during the winter. C. Using cruise control in winter weather is a safe thing to do. D. It is best to use snow tires on your vehicle. C. Using cruise control in winter weather is a safe thing to do. You should not use cruise control on snow, in rain, in fog, or under similar hazardous conditions. Winter is the most difficult driving season and requires extra caution from drivers. It is important to consistently check your antifreeze and windshield washer fluid levels. Using snow tires can increase a vehicle's traction on the surface of slippery roads. Lanes of traffic moving in the same direction are divided by fill in the blank lines. A. Yellow. B. White. C. Red. D. Black. B. White. Solid white lines are used to separate lanes traveling in the same direction as well as to mark the right edge of the road. Broken white lines separate lanes traveling in the same direction and may be crossed to pass. Yellow lines separate lanes of traffic moving in opposite directions. Pennant-shaped signs indicate A. School zones. B. No passing zones. C. Speed limits. D. Railroad crossings. B. No passing zones. Pennant-shaped signs usually indicate no passing zones. Text will also be on the sign to confirm that it is a no passing zone. A person who drives much slower than the speed limit. A. Is a very safe driver. B. Always has the right of way. C. Should not let following cars pass. D. May create a dangerous driving environment. D. May create a dangerous driving environment. Driving more slowly than the flow of traffic can be hazardous. If you are on a two-lane, two-way road and driving so slowly that traffic is backing up behind you, you are required to pull off the road and let the other vehicles pass. Only drive significantly under the speed limit when conditions require it. At an intersection with a stop sign, you should stop and A. Check your rearview mirror for cars tailgating. B. Move when the vehicle ahead of you moves. C. Look right first, then left, then right again. D. Look left first, then right, then left again. D. Look left first, then right, then left again. When stopped at an intersection, you should first look to your left, as vehicles coming from the left are closer to you than vehicles coming from the right. Look to your right, then look to your left again, in case there are any vehicles coming from that direction that you did not see at first glance. This sign means A. Buggy warning. B. Turn right or go straight. C. Minimum speed. D. Winding road. This sign means A. Cattle crossing. B. Prepare to stop. C. Detour ahead. D. Winding road. You must stop for a school bus. A. That is parked on the shoulder of the road with no one in it. B. When it approaches you, even if its lights are not flashing. C. If you are both driving on a two-lane highway and its red lights are flashing. D. Whenever the driver waves at you. C. If you are both driving on a two-lane highway and its red lights are flashing. You must stop when approaching a school bus that is displaying flashing red lights while stopped to pick up or drop off children. On a two-lane road, traffic moving in both directions must stop and remain stopped as long as the red lights near the top of the bus are flashing and/or the stop arm on the left side of the bus is extended. At a four-way stop. A. The driver to arrive first has the right of way. B. The driver to arrive last has the right of way. C. One driver should continue driving without stopping. D. One driver should wave the other drivers ahead. Which is the most common cause of traffic crashes? A. New drivers. B. Human error. C. Bad weather. D. Bad roads. This sign means A. U-turns are prohibited. B. U-turns are permitted. C. Winding road ahead. D. Sharp left turn ahead. A. U-turns are prohibited. A regulatory sign displaying a red circle with a red slash through the middle indicates that a specific action is prohibited. U-turns are not permitted where this sign is posted. The act of turning your head and checking your blind spot before changing lanes, driving away from a curb, or merging your vehicle into traffic is A. A bad driving habit. B. A good driving habit. C. Unnecessary. D. Not necessary if you use the rearview mirror. B. A good driving habit. When changing lanes, it is important to check your blind spots. Do this by looking over your shoulder toward the next lane. Do not rely only on your mirrors. To pass a slower moving vehicle on a two-lane, two-way road, you must A. Not cross the center line. B. Flash your lights at oncoming traffic. C. Use the shoulder. D. Use the lane that belongs to oncoming traffic. D. Use the lane that belongs to oncoming traffic. Passing on a two-lane, two-way road requires good judgment because you must use the lane belonging to oncoming traffic to complete your pass. Only pass if you may safely and legally do so. This sign means A. One-way traffic. B. Two-way left turn. C. Two-way traffic. D. Minimum speed limit. A. One-way traffic. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This sign tells drivers the direction in which they must drive when turning onto a one-way street. On long trips, you can prevent drowsiness by A. Turning on your car radio. B. Slowing down. C. Stopping at regular intervals for a rest. D. Moving your eyes from side to side as you drive. C. Stopping at regular intervals for a rest. To prevent drowsiness on long trips, you should schedule regular stops. Give yourself time to rest and stretch, even if you are not feeling tired. When approaching a traffic signal displaying a steady yellow arrow, drivers A. Should merge into a lane in the direction of the arrow. B. Should slow to a stop, if it is safe to do so. C. May turn left after yielding to oncoming traffic and pedestrians. D. Have the right of way and may expect oncoming traffic to stop for them. B. Should slow to a stop, if it is safe to do so. A steady yellow arrow indicates that a red arrow is about to appear. Stop unless you are already within the intersection. Which of the following commonly causes traffic accidents? A. Inattentive driving. B. Excessive speed under the driving conditions. C. Following other vehicles too closely. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Driving too fast for conditions is a major cause of motor vehicle crashes. Being inattentive to surroundings can cause a driver to collide with other vehicles. Most rear-end collisions are caused by drivers following other vehicles too closely. This sign means A. Two-way left turn. B. Lane shifting. C. Added lane. D. T intersection. A. Two-way left turn. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This regulation sign indicates that drivers from both directions may only use the shared center lane to turn left. Drivers should not use the center lane as a usual driving lane. Consuming which of the following substances may impair your ability to drive safely and may result in an arrest for driving under the influence of intoxicants DUII. A. Beer, wine, and other liquor. B. Controlled substances, such as illegal drugs or prescription medicines. C. Inhalants, such as glue or paint. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. A wide variety of intoxicants can impair your ability to drive. These include all types of alcoholic beverages, illegal drugs, inhalants, and many legal medications, both prescription and over-the-counter. This road sign means A. When pavement is wet, reduce your speed. B. The road ahead winds a series of turns or curves. C. Traffic increases ahead. D. Steep grade ahead. A. When pavement is wet, reduce your speed. This sign warns that pavement is slippery when wet. In wet conditions, you should reduce your speed, avoid braking or changing direction suddenly, and increase the distance between your vehicle and the one ahead. You want to back out of your driveway. You see children playing nearby. Before you start to move your car, you should A. Rev your engine to warn the children that you are moving. B. Sound your horn so the children will hear you. C. Walk to the back of the car to be sure the way is clear. D. Tell the children to stay away from the driveway. C. Walk to the back of the car to be sure the way is clear. When you back up a vehicle, look through your back window for pedestrians and other obstacles. Do not rely only on your mirrors, especially when children are near. Before you back into or out of a driveway, get out of the vehicle and check behind your vehicle. If someone has consumed alcoholic drinks, what will help the person overcome the influence of those drinks? A. Tomato juice and lime. B. Hot coffee. C. Fresh air. D. Only time. D. Only time. Only the passage of time will allow a person to overcome the influence of alcohol. As alcohol builds up in your blood, it A. Slows down your reactions. B. Makes you feel less confident. C. Begins to metabolize itself more quickly. D. Decreases the number of driving errors. A. Slows down your reactions. As alcohol builds up in your system, it will slow your reactions, make you feel more confident, and cause you to make more errors. You notice that the driver in the vehicle ahead of you is driving with one hand and talking to a passenger. You should A. Give the vehicle extra space. B. Know that the driver in the vehicle ahead is reducing their safety margin by being an inattentive driver. C. Avoid following the driver's example. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Do not become distracted by looking at passengers, attempting to find something in your vehicle, looking at reading material, sightseeing, or daydreaming while driving. If a driver near you seems distracted, allow them extra space because the risk of an accident is increased by their inattentiveness. An octagonal sign is always a A. Speed limit sign. B. Stop sign. C. Hospital sign. D. Railroad warning sign. B. Stop sign. Octagonal signs are always stop signs. Come to a complete stop when approaching a red, 8-sided sign. To reduce the effects of headlight glare at night, you should look A. Straight ahead. B. Over your shoulder. C. At the center of the road. D. To the right edge of the road. D. To the right edge of the road. If oncoming drivers do not dim their headlights for you, keep your eyes on the right side of the road ahead. Do not look directly at the oncoming headlights because the glare may blind you for several seconds. What are the colors of warning signs indicating upcoming hazards? A. Black letters or symbols on a white background. B. Black letters or symbols on a yellow background. C. White letters or symbols on a blue background. D. White letters or symbols on a green background. B. Black letters or symbols on a yellow background. Warning signs that indicate approaching hazards are usually yellow with black lettering or symbols. Warning signs in work zones are orange with black lettering or symbols. If you begin to feel tired while driving, the best thing to do is to A. Get some coffee. B. Open your window. C. Stop driving. D. Turn on the radio. C. Stop driving. Being fatigued while driving is similar in danger to driving under the influence of alcohol. If you begin to feel tired while driving, the best thing to do is to stop driving. You should honk your horn when you A. Are traveling through an intersection. B. Are passing a bicyclist. C. See a child who is about to run into the street. D. Are parallel parking. C. See a child who is about to run into the street. Your horn should be used as a warning in situations where you think another driver or a pedestrian does not see you. For example, if a child begins to run into the street in front of your vehicle, you should sound your horn. This sign means A. Trucks only. B. Trucks are entering the highway. C. Upcoming hill. D. Trucks have the right of way. If you need to slow down while driving on a slippery road, the first thing you should do is A. Firmly apply your brakes. B. Take your foot off the gas pedal. C. Apply your parking brake. D. Pump your brakes. B. Take your foot off the gas pedal. To slow down on a slippery road, you should first take your foot off the gas pedal. If you need to slow down even more, gently apply a slow, steady pressure to your brake pedal. You may not cross a single broken white or yellow line. A. When doing so would interfere with traffic. B. When turning left into a driveway. C. When the car in front of you is disabled. D. When passing to the right on a one-way street. A. When doing so would interfere with traffic. You may cross a single broken line to pass or change lanes as long as you can do so safely and without interfering with traffic. When you are in a line of traffic that is crossing a railroad track that has no signals or gates. A. You have the right of way and do not need to check for trains. B. You may pass slower drivers while crossing the track. C. You need to make sure there is space for your vehicle to get all the way across the tracks without stopping. D. All of the above. When you park uphill on a street with a curb. A. Keep the front wheel straight and set the parking brake. B. Turn the front wheels away from the curb. C. Turn the front wheels toward the curb. D. Turn the back wheels into the curb. B. Turn the front wheels away from the curb. When parking on an incline where there is a curb, you should turn your wheels sharply to the left, away from the curb. This way, if your brakes fail, your vehicle will not roll into traffic. This sign means A. Stop. B. Side road. C. Two-way left turn. D. Farm machinery. A. Stop. 8-sided traffic signs warn drivers that they must stop and yield the appropriate right of way at an intersection. Drivers may proceed when it is safe to do so. A diamond-shaped sign is A. Road hazard sign. B. Interstate route sign. C. School crossing sign. D. Speed limit sign. A. Road hazard sign. Warning signs are normally diamond-shaped and yellow, although orange warning signs are used in work areas. Such signs warn that you are approaching a hazardous location or an area where special rules apply. Before turning left, it is important to A. Sound your horn. B. Yield to oncoming vehicles. C. Swing to the right side of your lane. D. Wait until oncoming traffic has a red light. B. Yield to oncoming vehicles. When turning left at a traffic signal, you must yield the right of way to pedestrians and oncoming traffic. You approach an emergency vehicle that is stopped with its lights flashing. You must A. Slow down. If possible, change lanes so you will not drive next to the stopped emergency vehicle. B. Drive to the right side of the road and stop. C. Stay in your lane and continue to drive at the same speed. D. Accelerate to quickly pass the stopped vehicle. A. Slow down. If possible, change lanes so you will not drive next to the stopped emergency vehicle. If you approach an emergency vehicle, tow truck, or roadside assistance vehicle that is stopped with its lights flashing, you must change lanes to allow the vehicle extra space. If there is only one lane moving in your direction, or if changing lanes would be unsafe, you must slow down to a speed below the posted speed limit and give the stationary vehicle as much room as possible. Always slow down and be prepared to stop when you approach an emergency scene.